And as a kid, didn't even notice how bad this movie was in terms of acting.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and I think we both are. We both can, relate to that. It's like the new movie that, well, I wouldn't say new, but it came out a few years ago, like Medal of Valor or whatever it was called, where they actually got real SEALs to act in that action movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it was amazing. Like, yeah, I didn't need a big story. I just wanted to see real SEALs do action movies in their environment, and it was awesome. But yeah, it's like you throw anything in there and then give me, put in Kent Lipham, Fat Scott, and just throw that in for humor, and I'm good to go.
Let's talk about him. What do you know? Talk to me about Kent Lipham, or Scott.
So he is the only one where I could not find much information.
Yeah, he's a ghost, man.
He's passed now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
With Lipham, it was. I would like to see that audition process too. Kind of. I hope he was at that opening casting call doing that.
He must have.
Just
well, I don't know if he would have been going for the lead. He would have already been cast, right? He was.
Oh yeah, that's true. If they already got cast, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll just touch on RJ, also known as J.W. Fails, right?
Yeah. Did you find anything on him?
Well, he had a little career. He was in I don't know if you remember this series, California Dreams.
I do remember California Dreams, yeah.
It's like a Saturday morning live-action teen drama.
It was kind of the knockoff of Saved by the Bell. Yeah, I remember that coming out.
And they had like a band and shit.
Yep.
So he was on an episode of that. Growing Pains. No major, nothing crazy major. In terms, it's a lot of television, a lot of guest roles. But apparently, he didn't know how to do he didn't know how to break dance. Is what the sort of the legend says about the casting of this, was that he wanted to get cast, so he just lied to the filmmakers about being able to skateboard and break dance, and they had to hire a stunt double to do his stuff. Now, I don't know if that's true.
Yeah,
but
if you're in LA though, which you're going to now, it's like on your resume you should just be like Joey Tribbiani and put down everything on there that you.
Yeah, but he goes on to be in Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo. So I don't know, maybe he could move well enough to be like, yeah, I can break dance. And they were like, okay, but not good enough to actually be on screen with it,
Right. But I wonder at that time, too, it's kind of like, show us a little of your moves. And being, white screenplay writer, and, you do have Asian director, you're kind of like, I guess that's good, and you're kind of like, you don't want to say anything like, no, that's bad. Like, you don't want to be like, I know what breakdancing is.
You have no idea what breakdancing is, right? Because it was just starting to come into its own, too. Do you have anything to note on the screenplay writer?
He did have a bit part in the movie. He had a little part. He was one of the bar guys who fight Jason's dad in the parking lot. He was the black shirt guy. It was a good first screenplay for him, though. I mean, you bang out this $1 million box office hit.
If these numbers aren't wrong, I mean, if this thing ended up doing $4 million, that's $4.5 million. That's like $4 million profit, baby. I mean,
yeah,
it's enormous for this small little company here.
I hope he opened a dojo right.
Touch on Corey Yuen, who will probably be in several more films we talk about.
DOA, we've already done too.
He directed No Retreat, No Surrender 2. When was the last time you watched it?
5 or 6 years ago. That's the last time I watched it.
It is nonsensical to the sequel.
Right.
And I'm not even sure how it sort of lines up. And so it was plagued from the start. Kurt McKinney talks about this in the Art of Action podcast, that he was signed on to do it, as was Van Damme. And they were going to do a sequel that involved the two of them in some way. There was never a script given to Kurt McKinney, according to him, and they kept delaying. So they'd be like, okay, it's going to shoot this day, we're going to fly you out, you're going to shoot this day, blah, 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 and then it kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed, months, and then eventually he's like, I'm out. So good for him. I like that he stood, and we said he didn't do a lot of movies, and he didn't, but he was 10 years on daytime soaps. I mean, the guy's fine, he's set for life, and of course we know what happened to Van Damme, but apparently he was like, okay, can I bring my wife? And they go, where we're going to be filming, you shouldn't bring blonde-haired, blue-eyed women. So it's just, I guess they were worried about human trafficking, and the movie is tough to follow. It's kind of insane. once again, I'm fine with the fights. Really enjoyed those.
Yeah.
You get Cynthia Rothrock, of course, who's not in it as much as I remember her being in it as a kid, but whatever. And you get more guns, you get some explosions, and you get this college student who's dating this. I don't know. It's a convoluted story to say the least. But one thing they talked about on the Art of Action podcast, and to sort of close, they talk about how long it took to shoot the fight scenes and how many takes they would do.
Yeah.
And then they would do like one take of acting a scene, and they'd be like, all right, next, let's keep going.
Yeah, that's not going to get any better.
Yeah, we're not even going to try to make it better. Yeah. We know what this is. I don't, how do you make that script much better? I mean, I'm sure those kids, like young Kurt McKinney, did all he could with it. But if you get one shot at it every time, I guess you're going to get what you got.
And I want to touch on, too, kind of the part one leading into part two and Kurt McKinney and Van Damme, because on Scott Adkins' podcast, The Art of Action, McKinney talks about how it was supposed to be in like South Africa, Cambodia, but during apartheid during this time, actors would have been blackballed. Like it was kind of under the rate. It was kind of like not talked about, but actors were would be blackballed if you did shoot in South Africa or anything like that too.
It's like early cancel culture.
Yeah. So he didn't want to take part of it. Well, I wanted to do. I looked into it a little bit more. I'm sure this is not true, but it's just hilarious. So on Bulletproof Action, which I find a lot of stuff on, and who knows what's right and what's wrong. But on it, they talk a little bit about the whole 1-2 kind of scuffle that happened with McKinney and Van Damme not joining. But just this quick excerpt says, Kurt McKinney and Jean-Claude Van Damme were both set to star in No Retreat, No Surrender 2. Van Damme backed out first, and when Kurt McKinney called him to find out why, Van Damme told Kurt, due to the filming taking place near the Cambodian border, Van Damme feared their money would be stolen and they'd be butt-raped by Cambodian pirates. Kurt McKinney followed Van Damme's lead and did not return for the sequel.
Well, I mean, I guess Van Damme has his morals. But I wonder who's in his ear, right? Like, Van Damme has agents. They're trying to make his career. They like listen. Because that kind of sounds like something like an Ari Gold type. You don't want to go do this movie, Van Damme. Trust me, they're going to butt rape you. Well, you got to have your reasons. So that's kind of the backdrop to this movie. And think about this movie hitting those video shows, man. Karate Kid's out. You saw that at the movie. You come, you see this Russia versus American. Just, what a time. Get that like store smell when you walk into your grocery store or whatever.
That cover art even too, man. That's everything that's American right there. That's everything that you've heard your dad bitching about at the dinner table, your parents talking about. It's like it's everything. I would love it if there was a actual sequel to this movie, but I don't think we're ever going to get it, and that's okay. This movie has its fair share of cult following, and rightfully so. We also, last week, to make a fix of last week, Brawl and Cell Block 99, we didn't do the body count, believe it or not. Oh, that's right. We did not do the body count.
There is a body count of 9. 9 confirmed kills in Brawl and Cell Block 99. And let's do the body count now for No Retreat, No Surrender. No one dies that we know of. So let's talk about No Retreat, No fucking Surrender. Whatever version we saw on YouTube, I messaged you. I was like, I think I'm watching an extended version because there is a scene added in. There is the fight scene at the beginning where Van Damme is first introduced to the dad, as we talked about, his dojo studio. And there's a scene afterwards where the father is sitting in this like prison hospital.
It's like a refuge. It's like World War II, like just where they're fixing up people just to get them back out on
his legs hanging above him. He's got like weird hotel toiletries next to him, and this sitting on a radiator, basically like
3 apples in a bucket, and just
it's not too far off of Cell Block 99.
Yeah,
and we get. The dad sitting in there, and I don't remember this, and you didn't either, because it was the scene you thought of first, or the scene you messaged me about.
Yeah.
It's basically the dad I don't know why he just doesn't have this conversation with his family.
Or with the cops. With anybody.
Yeah.
Just anybody. Yeah.
But it's just this close-up on the father doing a voiceover of him as he sits in his crippled state, being like, oh gosh, what have I done? My family's not safe. I have to get them out of here. And each sentence he says, his eyes like act it out, you know? You can't see my face if you're listening to this podcast, but like as he says, I got to get my family out of here. His eyes are like, you know, shaking his head. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I have to do it. But he's not talking. It's the weirdest, unnecessary scene. I see why it was cut.
Because if you had any questions after the first scene about who the sharply dressed guy, Van Damme, and then old dude, other henchman who just shows up in his gi and ready to go. And just, he knows that action is going to take place, but I don't know if he's just meeting Van Damme for the first time, and he's just like, dude, I don't know why you're wearing a suit, and then he gets his ass kicked. But
actually, that guy was there for the 6 o'clock class.
Yeah.
Just walked out. Yeah, that's a good point. I like the idea of Muscle showing up in karate gi.
Yeah. It's like, he knows what his job is. He knows what he's there to do.
That's going to be intimidating as fuck.
Right. Yeah. I don't care what belt you're wearing. If you show up at Groupon and I'm working there just in a gi and you show up with somebody in a suit.
It's like, we're here to talk to Marcus Hall. And,
But if you had any questions about, what the whole dilemma was and why Mr. Stillwell got in that fight, then he really ham-fists during this inner monologue in the next scene while he's in this prison endearment camp. And he just, the mafia wants, my dojo for the organization.
He lays it out pretty clear as to what is going on.
And then sure enough, we got to run.
And they pack up, and the next, I don't know what the time passage is, but as soon as he's out of the hospital, the windows are boarded up on his karate studio, and they are, why Seattle? I don't know. Because, maybe the mom has a job that brought him there? Because
we don't get any of the mom in this. Yeah, we get no mom in this at all, man.
You could bartend anywhere. Like, why Seattle? You're not even going that far away from them. It's not like you're moving to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? Why? I would love to know if the mom's like, well, I got a job teaching at a school or something, and the dad's like, well, I'll find a way to get money somehow. So he goes and bartends. Anyway, they move to Seattle, which also happens to be where Bruce Lee's buried. There's a lot to talk about, but I think the first thing we should talk about is the meeting of the two best friends.
Yeah, because in that we get RJ and we get Scott as well. So we get the entrance of the best friend, and we get the
bully.
The bully enemy, one of the sub enemy bully. But yeah, that whole meeting is just, I thought it was the coolest thing when I was a kid.
Oh my gosh, I know. And that's just what's so weird. Like, it's like a 9-year-old wrote and directed this scene.
Yeah.
Hey, you're cool. You're cool too. Maybe we should be friends. All right, look at me dance. And that's kind of how it goes.
You've got karate stuff in your garage? Yes, I want to see that.
Of course. I can't talk about it. I'm a ninja. What? You're a ninja? I breakdance. And that's, I'm exaggerating, but I'm not too far off. The basketball rolls to them, and they both do these weird basketball moves. It looks like if you were a 9-year-old playing basketball and your dad picked up the ball, but your dad wasn't good at basketball. Like, these are the moves they're doing. They go into the garage where it's strange to me, this shelf thing.
It seems to be a reoccurring character. It's big on the callbacks on the shelf, and
because Kurt McKinney kicks the shelves and he's surprised they fall apart.
Yeah.
And then RJ tries to climb the shelves.
It looked like he was going to do a backflip off those things or something like that. Yeah. And
then Kurt McKinney's like, oh, I should have warned you. I broke the shelves earlier. It's like, why y'all testing these shelves so much? They're obviously not going to support any weight. Anyway,